Head Noise, a place to be vulnerable, open, and yourself. Make sure to join in as we are live as we chat with our guests who are here to share their experiences and wisdom. And this, after all, is content we hope will help you. Without further ado, please welcome your host, Philip Parker.
Hello, everybody. It is another Head Noise, and we are live. As always, I promised great guests and very informative conversation, and today is no different. I announced it last week, but Charity Chaffee is with me today, and we're going to talk about teens and fun stuff. Charity, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. You are the resident expert, so to speak, today. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
You are now the expert in the room if you aren't used to that. But welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So we've had very great episodes so far. This is now it's 3 episodes old. And obviously Head Noise was kind of founded upon the need to just give back and be a safe space for people to kind of like get involved and just kind of see, you know, there is other avenues to go out and you don't have to be alone. Your specialty is teens, but can you give me a better introduction than I gave you? Because I feel like there's more to you than what I just said. So tell me about what you do and your expertise and everything, so we can really dive into the nitty gritty of this very topical subject.
Yeah, sure. So I laugh because I consider myself to be an accidental therapist. It was actually an impulse choice for me. I initially was going to be a biology teacher. And I realized I really enjoyed working with like middle school and high school kids, but I didn't love the aspect of teaching. So I had one single person who was like, "Hey, you're everybody's therapist. Have you ever thought about being a therapist?" And I was like, "That's it. That's my career choice." So literally the next day I enrolled in the GRE. I applied to grad school a week later, got into the program, and it was the best impulse decision I've ever made. So fast forward, my entire career has been built around working with teens and their families. I'd say probably 90% of the people that I've ever engaged with and worked with have been teens, tweens, or their families, parents, etc. So I have a full private practice where my specialty is high-risk teens. I work with a lot of people who are self-injuring, are struggling with eating disordered behavior, substance use, impulse control, PDA, autism, things like that. And I do a lot of work with their families as well as part of that. And then I have a sub business that's actually called Teens Uncharted, which is my own podcast talking about teens, mental health, and how we can do a better job to support that. Things to do, things not to do, and to also help providers who want to work with teens, because every teen deserves a really awesome therapist. So
100%. And I actually really commend you on the work that you do, because I feel like teens are often the forgotten demographic, so to speak. I struggle really with that because, it's easy to kind of like deal with stuff. I say easy, but it's easy to go into the adult world and then go, okay, let's dive into what's happening. But we could really address everything now. We could nip it in the bud, address everything before we hit our adult years and have all this trauma and have terrible breakups and everything that could be avoided if we did the work now. Abusive childhood trauma and all this kind of stuff happens so regularly. It's really upsetting. But tell me what you see the most right now. So you're obviously, we don't want to breach any data protection and stuff, but like the most prevalent topics that come up in the industry right now for teens, what are they right now?
Trauma, for sure. Attachment, boundary issues and concerns. So for instance, understanding appropriate boundaries and consents in relationships. Obviously there's a lot of like parenting struggles, parents who don't necessarily get the teen development, or they're using tactics that aren't like super helpful, which then lead to parent estrangement. And then we have a lot of people who, are kind of like misdiagnosed, or they're given a diagnosis that doesn't really fit. what's happening. And then one of my, like, I guess, personal pet peeves is the prevalence of diagnosis of personality disorders when kids are like 14.
Right. Like, you haven't even really well, I mean, you're developing your personality at that point. So how can you, that's my dog, by the way, if you're wondering what that is.
Hey, pup.
The sound effect. Look, it's one of those things, like, everybody has a personality disorder of some description at this point. You know, like, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through all this stuff. As adults, I can tell you right now, there's certain things that are triggering for me, and I've identified those, and I put the work in, and I see a therapist, and I've done all that stuff, because everybody has their own baggage, right? But 14-year-old, you don't even know who you are. You don't know, like, we could go deep into that avenue right now, but I'm gonna slow it down just a little bit. But, like, you really don't. Like, you're still figuring out what you want to do with your life. You're still figuring out what you like.
Well, here's the thing. This is how I like to say it. Sorry to cut you off. I feel like the new research we have says that the brain develops between 25 to 28 years old. So at 28, we're kind of assumed to have a fully functioning brain. So when you think about a 14-year-old, right, their brain is half developed, right? So our expectations of a 14-year-old cannot be expectations we'd have of a 25-year-old. But for whatever reason, a lot of people think that teenagers are just mini adults.
I mean, because they treat them such. Because, like, I hate to say it, but I've seen instances where teenagers are basically thrown into babysitting so soon that they shouldn't even be doing that. Like, they're not equipped, and they're forced to, because it's easy. It's like, mommy and daddy are going out for the night. Hey, you're in charge, and you're gone. Now, look, I'm not knocking that parenting. I'm not, because nobody gets a handbook. We figure it out as we go, and everyone's entitled to make mistakes. What this is for is essentially we're trying to figure out where these traumas come from. What is really happening that kids of 14 or older are just having big issues. And it's always, I hate to say it, I'm Irish, so I'm very critical of the medical industry over here, because everything can be fixed with a pill. And I'm not a huge fan of that. But diagnosing someone with a personality disorder when they haven't really figured out what their personality type is a little bit, it's just against everything that I believe in. You know what I mean? So it's a tough one, and I hear everything that you're saying, but what can we do about that? Like, you're doing all the legwork right now. You're doing a lot of work to help these teens, and you're giving. I was just looking at your website, and it's just amazing. You're giving tools to therapists who are working with teens, and but, like, how do we make this a more publicized issue? Because no more than veterans not getting mental care when they come back and not having that access, teens are there now. Like, we can get this before it turns into something just that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. I think there's a few things. One thing is that there are a lot of providers, for whatever reason, that don't feel comfortable working with teens, don't feel competent working with teens, and don't want to. And I get that. I would never want someone to work with a population that they don't feel passionate about. And at the same time, I think when I think back to a lot of people's training through grad school, through CEUs, through continuing education, there aren't a lot of people that, like, truly just specialize in teens. Right. And so the supervision they're getting is from someone who, like, could be amazing, but could be someone who also has the experience of, like, children, tweens, teens, adults, young adults, geriatric folks, etc. Right. So they do the whole age range, versus my whole program is all focused on, like, we're only talking about people that are this age to this age. Right. Like, that is a specific thing. So that's one thing, is, like, really, where are people getting support and working with them? I did a survey the other day, which was so cool, because I wanted to know what the hesitation was, or what the barrier was for wanting to work with teens. And most of the time, what they had said is family dynamics. The
Wow.
family dynamics and the parenting, right, prevented them from either feeling confident in working with teens or wanting to do that, right? And so that to
Yeah,
me
because nobody
says,
wants to hear they're doing it wrong. Nobody.
right, right.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's a way to like bring parents on board, right? And we can validate the fact that they're putting effort in and that they're really trying. And at the same time, give them tools that could be more helpful while also repairing the relationship and supporting this like nurturing relationship that they want to have with their teen.
Right. Right.
Right. And
It's
like grad schools honestly can do a better job at training that. We can do a better job at offering CEUs that just focus on teens.
yeah. I mean, you talk about all the things that are triggering and that you see the most of, and honestly, all I can think of is this is stuff that we could be addressing in schools. We could be revamping the education. They do sex ed, so I mean, come on, like we can do these things early and we can attack them early. I think honestly, it's a gap in the market. I feel like if the schools had a company that came in and did it for them, they'd almost be like, yeah, come on, let's go. As long as it's not us, I don't mind. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's really what it's about. It's just the effort is, and to change is so difficult because everything. I mean, I don't know if I don't know where you're based in the world, but I all I hear now about teachers and stuff is negative, and you know, especially here in Oregon, we've had OnlyFan issues and all this kind of stuff. But like, legitimately, everyone that starts out as a teacher wants to do right. They want to educate their students, and I think with the tools they could do this. And you know, I really applaud what you do because it's such a difficult topic because, like I said, it's so hard to like you're doing it wrong, mom. You know what I mean? Like, and that's essentially what it is. Like, we all have opportunities for growth. We've never every day learn something new every day is what I always say, right? And there's always opportunity for
Mhm.
that, and I think we can definitely do that. I think addressing those issues is important. We are
No,
live, guys. So if you have any
absolutely.
questions for Charity, she is
Yes.
just full of knowledge. So please, 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 definitely ask questions if you have any. So you have your business, you're doing all this stuff for teens, and what is it? What does your day look like so far, and how can we help you reach the masses? Because we really want like teens to get the help they need.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it, they say like prevention is like 9/10 of, you know, the part of it. And so I feel like when I think about teens, I really think about like how do we access them? How do we access parents? How do we help support and prep parents for when they're teens, right? Their young children are becoming tweens and the tweens are becoming teens, right? Because there's so
Right,
many great skills that we can help support parents with because once you've learned a skill, it's really hard to unlearn it, right? So
right,
if we can kind of catch all of them early, the tween, the teen, and the parent, and support them in like what that process is, we're going to be, like far ahead. Right now, I see a lot of individual people. I work a lot with like different families. Um, I really do a lot of like parent coaching and like crisis calls. Because the thing that I say is that teens don't exist in a vacuum, so we can't treat them like that.
right,
So at the end of the day, like teens are connected to systems. Those systems may be helpful, they may be detrimental, they may not be working the way that we want them to, but they're attached to those systems. So when I like accept a teen as a client, I'm not just accepting the teen, I'm accepting the entire family system and everything that that teen comes with, which is the school system. It could be like a sports team. It's whatever they're
right,
involved in. Um, and the reality of a lot of this is that we exist with systems that no longer serve us in the way that they need to. So the education system is not progressed to where we need it to be. Teachers are stuck. The mental health system has not progressed to where we need to be. So therapists are stuck. People aren't getting the care they deserve because it's hard to
right.
access. So all of those pieces are things that I'm trying to kind of like solve on a one-to-one basis. but I know that like my message and the message of other people that I know that like are teen specialists, like we want to get it out, right?
Mhm.
We want to try to help prevent the ruptures from happening. We don't want parent estrangement to happen. Like there's all these things that I'm just like, I want to help you, because I want you to have the best life possible, A, for your teen and also for your relationship with your teen.
Right. We got a question. Um, how do we help teens navigate loyalty conflicts between biological and step parents? Liz, thank you for joining in. This is a very big topic. Go ahead, Charity. It's your first question.
I
Congratulations.
love it. I love it. Thank you. So there's something not early, I guess middle of my career, I was selected to do this really cool training, which is called Permanency Connections. It's through the Plummer Youth Home and Family. It's located in Massachusetts, which is actually where I'm at. And they did this amazing work around adoption and permanency.
Mm,
And the traditional way that we would look at adoption and step parents and, second, third, etc., was that there can only be one mom, right? There can only be one dad, right? And
yes.
we inadvertently would support this loyalty conflict around like you can only have one of them, so you have to choose, right? But when we're talking about adoptive children or parents that have second spouses, etc., we have to understand that like there are so many awesome adults that can play into this child's life, right?
Right.
It's all about how we assign the value to that. So when we're talking about a step parent, that step parent isn't there to replace the biological parent, right?
Right.
The step parent is there because they're part of that family system. They want to support this kid. And at the end of the day, you're not trying to take over anything,
Right.
right? And I think like that is something that needs to be like a repetitive thing where it's like, hey, we can all be on your team,
Yeah.
all of
And
us.
I think the struggle as well is for those who have broken marriages and things like that. I think there's a lot of emotional conflict between the parents as well. So when they hear X saying he's great or she's great or whatever,
Mhm.
it's also triggering for them because emotionally they're still getting over the fact that maybe they've been separated. So there's so much with that, and then the teens are also pulled into that emotion because it's like I don't want to hurt daddy and tell him that you know um, I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and
Mhm.
we're currently we've separated, and I struggle with that every day. But I have to have confidence in my 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 former partner that she's going to lead with her best foot forward and make good
Yes.
choices for our children. And that's difficult because depending on the reasons why you've separated, there could be a lot of conflict or aggression or whatever is anger that is attached to that, and it's a real struggle. But I have to remind myself I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my kids, and so
Yes.
you know um, they actually really like her new partner. So it's like I have to just be very enthusiastic about stories that they tell. And oh, we went here and he did this, and then we played this, and it is a struggle at times. But teens know more, they understand more, they
Yeah.
can like navigate, I would say, with a little bit more proficiency their emotions, and they can see that it's upsetting you and they don't want to hurt your feelings. And so it's like these loyalty conflicts are not because they're afraid of being loyal to this other person or whatever. They almost want your approval to be okay, like so that they can connect with this person. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest hurdle is all they want is for you to say it's okay, because those conflicts only exist because they're trying to be loyal to you or the other parent. It's doesn't it because most kids are very sociable. So they've met this new person, they want to accept that, exactly like validation, exactly. um, and that's really what it's all about. Like you need to validate the fact that you're not the only one that has now changed the relationship. they are now in a new relationship with another person that is an adult, and they want to connect with that person. And if they connect with that person, they also want to be okay to take guidance or have fun or do whatever. And that's a testing time. Like, I can tell you right now, it wasn't an easy day for me when they came home and they were like, "Oh, we had so much fun with blah," and da da da. I've just gone through it now. My ex-partner, finds out that I'm talking to somebody else, and it's not a knock on them, because we all go through emotions, because relationships
Sure.
end because they end. It's not an easy time. Nobody enjoys it. Breakups suck for everybody. But
Yeah.
when there's two people, it's just two people that have to get over it. When you've got children, like, they also have to navigate every new relationship. You're not the only one seeing this person. They now they're in all the lives that are in the household. And
Mhm.
so it's a testing time. And yes, so loyalty conflicts are tough. But honestly, I think validation from the the adult is what is needed, I think. And I don't know if you agree with that, but that's, from my perspective, that's where I struggled. And I could see, once I got over that hurdle, that there was less emotion, and it was a lot easier for me to have communication with my children, because they just want to tell me stories. All they want to do is connect. They just want to connect.
Yeah.
Hey, I went to the swimming pool. Now with a teen, it's going to be, yeah, we were playing blah blah blah, or we went to the game and we had so much fun, or whatever it's talking about. You're going to have to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too, excuse me, I think too, the other piece is that we often, with kids, we assign ourselves a role. And
Right.
so we take the power, and especially in parenting situations, in blended families, we are kind of automatically or societally assuming this role of like, okay, I'm your parent now, right? And I think with tweens and teens, we need to include them in the conversation about like, what do you want me to be for you? Right? How
Right.
can I show up for you? What's important for you? Even down to like names and roles and like specific things, any of those things, to give them a say in that, right?
Right.
Because really at the end of the day too, like we don't want to be in a power struggle with the teens. Right.
No.
Like we want to join with them and we want to be on the same team. Like I'm always telling my people, it's like, I'm on your team, right? Like I want to be there fighting with you for all the things that you're trying to do, the goals you're trying to meet. And I want them to be able to have that voice and to say, this is what you are to me. This is what you need to help me with. This is what I want from you.
Exactly.
Right. And I think the same thing with like step parents and bio parents. It's really understanding like what is the role that I play and how can I show up for you? Because at the end of the day, I feel like most parents, right? And you probably feel similarly. Most parents are like, I love it when people love my kids,
Oh
right? I
yeah.
get
Oh my
excited
gosh.
when people
Yeah.
are
No,
wanting to
100%.
support them and to show up for them, right?
Yep.
And I think the same thing with blended families and with second parents and whatever, because why wouldn't you want another adult in your kid's life that loves them?
Agreed. Agreed. I think the fear and the insecurity that's attached to that for the biological parent is that they like that other person more, because in the younger years, the biological parent is the one that has to have all those tough conversations, like go tidy your room, go do your homework, go do all that stuff. I think if you have a healthy relationship with your new partner and they're around a lot more, they could also play that role. But when they're not playing that role, they're the fun person. So it's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, he's the best because, or she's the best because we just get to do whatever we want when they're around. It's so much fun. But again, these are all challenges and things that we have to overcome for our children. And I think, Liz, thank you so much for that question.
It is a great
As my
question.
dog is throwing toys around over here, it's
He
like,
just
I
wants to be
swear,
part of it.
the kids aren't even here, and I have a furry kid over here just making as much noise as possible. Um, or I leave him inside and he chews things. So it's like, what? I can't win. You know what I mean? But Liz, thank you so much for that question. That's such a poignant thing, and honestly, the topic is real. There we go, perfect. Um, and if anyone has any other questions as well, this is for you guys. I am not an expert. I just have gone through some mental health stuff, and this is what this is for. But Charity, tell me about your website, because I really want to push that, because it is something that's really topical and helpful as well. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. So I see teens one-on-one. I work with families that are kind of attached to the teens. And I love what I do. I always say that I would quit tomorrow if I couldn't work with teenagers anymore, because they're like my people. They're the people I get. They're the people I want to help. They're like, they're
Yeah,
my
exactly.
bread and butter, right? I get so excited to see them every week, and it's amazing. So I know that that is a big thing for me, and doing the work that I do, and I feel like I'm really good at it, right? I have really good outcomes.
Right.
I have kids that are learning, they're growing, the families are like, making amazing strides. And I wanted a way to kind of step into a space where I could have more of an impact. So I have been dreaming for forever about something that would allow me to provide support for families that are going through it, with teenagers that are like making, crazy choices that they don't understand, and trying to like help support the narrative that like their teen is doing the best they can, and that we can also do the best we can in helping them kind of come together and figure out what needs to get done. So Teens Uncharted was born, and Teens Uncharted is kind of like a multi-tier thing. So I have a podcast called actually it's called Teens No Cap. I like to keep up with the lingo. So Teens No Cap, and I have several episodes out at this point talking with a variety of experts, from eating disorders to like sex therapists on relationship boundaries and consent. Talked about some high-risk kids stuff as well, or high-risk teens. So that's been a lot of fun. And for me, that's a platform to just like really help disseminate information and like help parents and providers understand like what we can do to support
Right.
teens. And then the other thing I have is I have a mini membership for providers where we do case consultations. There's a private community for them where they can kind of like seek help and support. I know when I was new in the field, I was like one of the only ones that I knew that was only seeing teens. A lot of other people that are new in the field are seeing kind of a wide range of folks. And I very quickly was like, nope, these are my people. And so when I would go to case consultation meetings, I would sit with really wonderful clinicians, but people that wouldn't work with teenagers.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, I know what that's like to be without support, and I wanted to support everybody else as well. So that's part of like, no cap, I know.
I love
Um, that's part of the provider portal. And then I also have a parent membership, which is really meant to help support parents who are like going through it. So they're in the thick of it. They don't understand their kid anymore. They're seeing these changes. They're like, how do I like navigate this? So that one has like peer consultation space. It has like peer parent support. There's a lot of other stuff that I'm building into it to kind of allow that, roundtables with experts so you can ask a lot of questions, stuff that's really kind of like curated and focused on what those parents are going through. There
You're
are more
amazing.
things coming,
You're amazing.
but
You're absolutely fantastic. And it's, I mean, maybe it's just fate or life's design that your first name is Charity, but I think that you're somebody that's giving back, and it has to be applauded, because that it's incredible, really. And the
thank
fact
you.
that you're creating tools for people just to be able to access, because I know for myself, when throughout this, it's been a challenge just finding tools that are out there for people, which is why I really did like struggle with, should I make this podcast? Should I not make this podcast? But then someone said to me, you need to highlight the tools that are available. And I think this is what that's for, because
Mhm.
honestly, there's so many topics. Mental health could be anything, absolutely anything. mental health is as bad as you have too many. Like, I have somebody that's coming on in a few weeks' time that really focuses on financial well-being, and
Hmm.
because so many of us, including myself, have gone through real problems with financial stuff, and it weighs on you when you're trying to be the best parent you can be, or the best person you can be for whoever's in your life, and it can really be a struggle. So I think it's a bone. For those who are wondering what that noise is, it's a bone, and I'm really regretting giving it to him now because I thought it would help. Jesus, I've pride myself on the fact that this is unscripted productions because this is an unscripted conversation, but this is the definition of unscripted right now. Anyway, yeah, I pride myself on trying to give back, and this is something that I'm just so grateful that you've made time to come on here and do this with me today, because just highlighting what you do, I would never have known that this is available. So tell me again what the website is that people can get on.
Sure. So it's teensuncharted.com.
Teens Uncharted. You're going to know why I'm asking that in just a second.
Perfect. And then the podcast is called Teens No Cap.
Teens No Cap. I love it. Teensuncharted.com. And there we go. Teensuncharted.com, rolling on the bottom of your screen right now. Go check it out 100%. If you like what you're hearing from Charity, like, I mean, why wouldn't you? But if you like, I swear I'm going to kill this dog. You're going to see pet murder live on YouTube. I can't. You can't write this. This is unreal.
Yeah.
But please go check out the website. If any of this is resonating with you, where it all starts and where all this information is on this wonderful website. I've checked it out. It is very there's too much almost, because it can be overwhelming when you're going through stuff. But
Yeah.
it's a great tool, and of course there's a contact us link. Just please reach out. This is why we're doing this. We want you to reach out to these experts and get the help you deserve, and find your way through this struggle. So don't
have
be
to be
shy.
alone.
You don't have to be alone. Of course not. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. I have a dog.
And your dog has a bone.
And my dog has a bone and won't let it go. Just because that's what dogs do, right? So
Right.
Going on, I really want to kind of give some tools back to the people that are watching, whether it's
Yeah.
live right now or later. So last episode we talked about journaling and things like that for your own mental health. I would really love to hear from you on what practices we could maybe change in our daily lives, or the thing that you see the most that is such a quick win for people. Is there anything that you could maybe give to the lovely audience, and maybe pimp out your website a little bit as well?
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So one of the things that you had mentioned earlier, that we're all looking for connection, right? Like
Yes.
that's us as humans, that's us as, small children, teens, tweens, whatever. And I think that one thing that happens, I think, to all parents and all providers, is we get really wrapped up in the goals we have for ourselves, our day, the client, our teen, whatever. And we forget, I think, sometimes that our teen is also human, and that there's someone who's seeking and searching for connection. And so one of the best ways that I love to like enhance and kind of like access that connection is just to be curious about everything. So for instance, if I have a kid who walks into my session and is like, so yesterday I got arrested because I did this thing, right? A lot of people would be like horrified, and they'd be like, oh my God, how could you? Why would you do that? Judgment, guilt, shame. That's the
Yes.
immediate response, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just like, okay, so we should talk about that. Tell me more.
if you've seen my last podcast, I lead my life right now with a Walt Whitman quote that I wouldn't have known because I'm not that schooled, for those who are wondering. I watched Ted Lasso. Be curious, not judgmental. And I think that right there is a moment that you could definitely do that. We're so quick to judge in everyday life. I literally just did another podcast with someone, and we talked about that as well. We can really lead by example by just being more curious and not going to DEFCON 1, so to speak.
Connection
Right?
before correction.
Exactly. I love all that. That's amazing. You better have all these quotes on your website. That's they're really good. But connection before correction is really appropriate because you want your team to tell you these things. You want your team to come to you with the challenges and the trials and tribulations that they're going through. You want them to have confidence to be able to bring topics up that are just so difficult sometimes. I remember when I was a teen and through my own fault, I thought I got a girl pregnant, and I came to my dad, and because my dad was approachable, and I'll never forget that moment. And thankfully it was a false alarm and everything was good. But you know, it's like, it was one of those moments that like lives with me forever. But forgetting the reason why I had to come to him, like being that kind of magnitude is what we're talking about. You should feel comfortable to come to your parent with anything. I have friends that their parents would let them have a sip of alcohol in the same room as them and say, as long as you're drinking around us, we can tell you when to stop. We know what's happening and blah, blah, blah. You know, there's no right or necessarily wrong way to parent. Unfortunately, we like I said, they don't come with manuals. I wish they did. But I'm sure that book would be a hell of a read, War and Peace style. You know what I mean? But like we have to navigate our lives and their lives, and we have to do it with a little bit more grace than sometimes we do. And
well,
like you said,
we're learning new things.
exactly.
And we're trying to unlearn the things that were done to us or happened to us, or our experiences. So we have certain reactions that we have to be able to own and be accountable for and shift so that we're giving our teens the best experience they can have.
It's a sobering moment when your teen reacts and you're like, where did they learn? Oh, yeah. That's me. Oops. Oh, man. Yeah. When your daughter at 3 years of age scolds you in a way that you can recognize that that is your voice scolding yourself, it's a sobering moment. So imagine hearing that when they're teens. I have nightmares about what she's going to be like as a teenager. So,
so the other thing I love to talk about too is that when I think about teens and I think about kids of any age, their parents, whoever their kind of role model guardians are, they're their first set of role models.
Right.
And so I totally understand that not every role model is a good influence, but when I work with families, I really try to help them understand how current behavior is sometimes a representation of a long history, a long pattern of interactions, right?
Yeah.
So as much as we would like to flick a switch and just be done with that behavior, done with that interaction, it doesn't work like that.
No.
And so
they're
like
sponges. Kids are sponges. They take it all in. Like you said, they want connection, and it's the connection for them could be just watching you. Watching everything that you're doing. My 6-year-old son told me, I learned it from you, Daddy. Like, I'm like, oh, great. Okay, that's awesome. Like it's again, there's nothing bad that that really comes from that. As long as you lead with grace, understand that we're all human. We make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're human. That's just life, right?
Yeah.
We want our kids to grow up to be, mentally centered adults that can navigate this somewhat precarious world that we're in right now. you don't want to give them complexes and trauma that are just going to add to the complexities that we're dealing with. And you know, I have identified so many things from my own childhood that has attributed to some of the things that I deal with, but it's not my parents' fault. It's not. It's
No.
the you're the product of your environment. You know, like I mean, I wish I had iPads and stuff when I was a kid. It would be amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, geez, you can look anything up. My 6-year-old literally voice searches stuff on YouTube because he wants to learn about volcanoes and stuff. So it's a completely different world. And
It is.
so we're learning as we go. And, you know, this isn't like you're doing everything wrong scenario. This is charity has some tools that you might be able to use that you probably don't have in your toolbox, and maybe they can help. And that's literally what it's for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that all your little phrases and quotes and stuff. I'm gonna list. If you don't have them on your website, it's a missed opportunity. You should do a book or something. That's what you need to do.
It's coming.
I knew it. I knew it. See, I knew it. I knew it all.
Yeah.
So teensuncharted.com. What is the goal for you? What's next for you? You've got a website. You're helping a book apparently. But like, you know, I want this to be like, if there's people out here that don't necessarily have any issues, but they're really invested in helping, and they want to reach out to you and maybe offer something or whatever. Like, this is a big topic. So what is next for you, and what are you trying to achieve or get to right now?
Great question. I am currently trying to build an empire of therapists who are just as obsessed as I am with working with teens, and really trying to give them the absolute best tools that we can, because a lot of the trainings, a lot of the offerings right now are focused on children or teens and adults.
Right.
And I have a hard time finding niche trainings that really add to my skill set, that aren't just like redundant things that I've done before. So that's, thing one. And then thing two is really just allowing and building stuff for parents that they can access, because I don't want a single parent to be alone at 2:00 in the morning on a Friday because their kid is in crisis, right?
Yeah,
like I want them to
that
be,
sucks for everybody, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. And I want them to be part of a community where they can like learn skills to manage that and to support their teen. And also where there might be another parent who's like been there. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
So these are closed communities. These are controlled communities because I want people to have space for privacy to talk about those things. But I don't want a parent to be alone in trying to support their teen. Right. And sometimes you need someone else's nervous system to regulate.
100%. 100%. That's why we have friends a lot of the time. For adults, that's why we have friends. We bounce things off, and we call, we vent, we get, teens also need help navigating that stuff. And sometimes that looks like they're acting out. Really, they just want your attention. And
it's behaviors communication.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's really hard to take. It really is. I hear it all the time, and it's unfortunate that it can be a struggle. And acting out doesn't always look pleasant at all. In fact, and I've seen the worst of the worst. But just know, those who are going through that there are tools and people out there that can help you. You just got to know where to look, and where to look is teensuncharted.com. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's I didn't rehearse anything, but so if you have any more questions, please ask away. We're here for a few more minutes. But I'm really just so grateful for you. I have to big it up to Facebook. I really don't like Facebook, but the connections that can be found there are very, very real. And this podcast would not exist if it wasn't for the connections that I have found on Facebook. Unfortunately, Roxanne, who normally is my resident guest, got stuck in traffic and all sorts of chaos. and was not able to make today's episode, but she is watching and very, very enthused about the subject as well. But I think honestly, what I really want people to get from this episode is that you are out there, that you are there to help, and that, even if you're not going through anything and you feel like you have something to offer, or if you just want to give the details of this website to somebody who would definitely use it, definitely do that. Like, you've no idea how alienating it is when you have no answers and you're sitting there trying to figure it out on your own, and you don't feel like there is any options. It's a scary, overwhelming place to be. I really do believe in what this wonderful human being that's on my podcast today is doing, and I really, really, really encourage you to share, like, subscribe, do whatever, and make sure that teensuncharted.com is the topic of conversation for a few more weeks. So you make sure that you share it with whoever you need to. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. You're an absolute breath of fresh air, and I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to come on here, even with all the noise from my dog and everything else that was going on.
Well, you did say it was unscripted, so
yeah, I mean, it's unscripted. But with all that said, thank you very, very much. We do have more guests coming next week. I have not confirmed anyone yet, because Charity was so excited to be on my podcast. She confirmed early, and not everybody is as excited. So I'm just calling that out there. But we do have more wonderful guests coming, and I can tell you that it's all the topics and all the tear-filled subjects that we're all afraid to approach. But that's what we do here at Head Noise. We're here for you, and we'll continue to be for the foreseeable future. Charity, thank you so much again for coming on. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out, if there's things that you want to do, definitely check out her website. But also, I have email and a phone number. So if you want to reach out to the show here, if you have something to offer, if you want to connect with the people that I've had on, unscriptedproductionstudio@gmail.com, or 503-862-9972 is the text number. I'll leave that there for a few more seconds. Otherwise, have a wonderful day wherever you are, or night, depending on when you're watching this. And you know where to tune in every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We are live on YouTube and Facebook, even though Facebook doesn't like me for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's just, it won't let me take comments. There could be 50,000 comments right now on Facebook, and I have no idea because it won't take them. But thank you so much again, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.